Welcome to another edition of Points of Interest, brought to you by the Lebanon Area Chamber of Commerce. My name is Paul Boucher. I'm the President and CEO of the Lebanon Area Chamber of Commerce. And as we do each week, we bring you the activities that are going on in the Upper Valley. And we have a special guest that comes in and talks about different topics affecting the Upper Valley. And this week being no different, we have Bruce Waters, who is with us this week from senior broker from Lang McLaury Commercial, and we'll be talking about different commercial activities going on in the Upper Valley, and some of his background, how long he's been in the business. But first of all, we had a golf tournament scheduled last week that didn't go off because of the rain, so this has been postponed to June 7th, and so as a result of that, we get some foursomes that are moving around, some people who aren't able to do the 7th. So we have some openings on some foursomes. So if anybody's interested in playing on the 7th of June, same place, we're playing at Lake Morey Resort. Beautiful course to play on and a lot of fun. And so if anybody is interested in playing, give us a call here at the Chamber office at 448-1203. And of course, as usual, we're always looking for sponsors. So if anybody's willing to sponsor either golf carts, green fees, or the buffet dinner that we have, we certainly would appreciate that. And we hopefully on June 7th we're going to have some good weather to play on that particular day. And so in coming years, I think we may just move more toward the June just to so we're not tied up with that. So things that are going on in the Upper Valley this week. As usual, Enfield Shaker Museum is open every day, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And they got daily guided and self-guided tours of the Great Stone Dwelling and a lot of interesting artifacts and things from the Shakers out there. And they're doing a lot of things out at the Shaker Museum, and so it's worth a ride out there. And Happy Griffiths, who works with herbs in the herb garden, has started. I was out there last week, and they were digging up the gardens and getting ready for spring. And so she does a lot of workshops on herbs and that type of thing. And so if you are interested, I would suggest you call 632-4346 and ask about Happy's workshops that she does with that. The Lebanon Library is doing honoring those who served in the armed forces. And then what they're doing is if you have a picture of a loved one or yourselves who served in the armed forces, they're doing a photo exhibit at the library here. And you may bring them right to the library or call 448-2459 for more information on that. I don't know how well or how much discussion this is going to be, but in Cornish on Wednesday, panel discussion on rising gas prices. I'm sure they will be able to solve all the problems in the tiny town of Cornish. 7 to 9 p.m. Wednesday at the Cornish Elementary School. That's on Townhouse Road. And so that should be of interest to some people. And then we have also on Wednesday, Reduce Stress and Build Harmony. And that is at Dartmouth Hitchcock Resource Center, which is not at the hospital, but at Centera Park. It's 46 Centera Park. And so that is 1 to 4:30 on Wednesday of this week. More information, it's free, 653-3460 for that particular event. And we have at, again in Cornish on Saturday, we have Tropical Storm Irene plant giveaway, and for those who, and this is going to be a fundraiser for those people who were displaced for Hurricane Irene, and you can call 802-295-7800 for more information on that. And in Plainfield, Garden Bazaar, and that is on Saturday also, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Route 12A behind the Plainfield Community Church. And you can plant seeds for sale, plus entertainment and raffles. We have an artist talk and reception with Jesse Pollock in Cornish at St. Gaudens. Now, St. Gaudens had just opened up for the season. They got a lot of programs, just got their their events for the year all throughout the summer, exhibits, programs, and usually in the summertime they would have Sunday afternoon concerts. Bring a picnic lunch, and just a gorgeous venue, and have a picnic lunch and listen to the concerts that they have there. So that's opening up pretty quick. We have Lindsey Buckingham is coming to the Lebanon Opera House on June 1st, 8 o'clock for that one. And then on June 3rd, the 10th Annual A Cappella Showcase, again at Lebanon Opera House. And the area's best a cappella vocalists are going to be singing at that particular event too. One of the things that's coming up too is those who are interested in leadership up a valley. This is a program that was started by the Lebanon Chamber 6 years ago, and it's an institute. It's a 10-month program empowering current and emerging leaders by focusing on regional assets, challenges, and opportunities. It's a full-day event once a month for 10 months, so it takes a commitment. And subjects that are covered, we have health and human services, the education, arts, communications, government, politics, and environment, and that type of thing. And Vital Communities that now runs that particular program. And if you are interested, there's always more applicants than openings. It's very popular. So I would suggest you call them at 802-291-9100, extension 102. For more information on the Leadership Up the Valley program. Ava Gallery is having a number of exhibits starting this week, running through middle of June. Torrin Porter is doing an exhibition of Out of This World, and we also have other ones that are being presented over there for the rest of the summer. The Chamber is going to be opening up their information booth coming up this weekend, Memorial Day weekend. This booth is staffed by the seniors from the Lebanon Senior Center, and it's open 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, from 1 to 4 p.m. And you may pick up, it's not just for visitors, we call it a visitors center, but anybody's looking for pamphlets or different places to go, we've got a whole display supplied by the tourism board for us. And if you want to go to the Polar Caves or the White Mountains or all of that, we have pamphlets on that. But visitors coming through that are visiting our area, last year we had about 2,000 people that visited there, 22 different states, and about 8 different countries. So it's very popular, and we thank the seniors for doing that. Coming up in July is the concert in the parks, beginning on Mondays, and then on Thursday we have Farmers Market, followed by the Front Porch series. So there's something going on in Colburn Park all summer long here in Lebanon, and always something to do and see. And the Farmers Market are extremely popular. So that's what's going on in the Upper Valley this week and a few weeks coming along. So we welcome Bruce Waters.
Thank you, Paul.
To our program. And Bruce, tell us a little bit about your background and how you came into this business.
Well, sure. The way I got into this business, quite frankly, is through an incredible mentor who happened to be my mother. My mother was a very successful realtor on the seacoast of New Hampshire. Used to work for the company called the Dunphy Family Company, and that's where I pretty much grew up as an adolescent. We lived in Northampton, New Hampshire, and I went to the public high school in the seacoast known as Winnacunnet High School. And from there, I went to UNH and graduated from UNH in 1972. And always knew felt strongly about business and entrepreneurship and real estate especially, and found an opportunity, quite frankly, on the coast of Maine right after graduating from UNH, and married to a lovely woman who I still am married to, and celebrated our 40th wedding anniversary yesterday.
Wonderful.
And she and I moved up to a little fishing village known as Port Clyde on the mid-coast area of Maine, where I bought the only general store for about 20 miles radius of everything. It was a fishing village, still is a very unassuming fishing village. We have a summer home there. And from that experience, met a lot of interesting people. A lot of sailing people would come in through Port Clyde, and I'd get to know them. And over the years, the famous networking allowed me to then gravitate from owning the general store, selling it properly, and then buying old mill buildings in the mid-coast area of Maine and started to rehab and convert them into mixed-use buildings, apartments, retail, offices, things of that nature. And at the same time, we started to acquire properties and actually build from new. Apartment housing through a government program through HUD for the elderly, the low-income elderly. Section 8 housing, built several in the Maine area, and then gravitated over here to New Hampshire, Whitefield, Henniker, Durham, and from there I then found an opportunity, quite frankly, to leave New England. And went to the west coast of Florida, where I was fortunate enough to be able to, along with partners, acquire a barrier island known as North Captiva Island. And from there, it was a very fun project because only a portion of it was available for development. The rest was all owned by the state of Florida through the Lands Endangered Act, and we were able to reconfigure the portion of the island that was private and what we owned into a planned unit development, and had airstrip and marinas and condos and things of that nature. It was a very exciting project, and it was a lot of fun. However, over about a 5-year period, I just made the decision that we wanted to raise our children in New England. And so I came back to New England from that experience and found a piece of land in Hanover and built 24 units of condominiums called the Courtyard Condominiums, thinking that I was only going to be here for a couple of years at best and then move on to another project, because that's what I did for a living in those days, and found that we really loved the Upper Valley. Met the McClary family, who were very engaging, and the chemistry was just right, and the rest, they say, I guess, is history. I started the commercial division almost 25 years ago now, and have had a great opportunity to meet some fantastic people, live in the best quality of life location that anybody could ever dream about. Raised our children who are long gone, but come back and love it, and that's about what Bruce Waters is all about.
Excellent. Bruce is the guru of commercial property here in the Upper Valley. If particularly commercial, as you mentioned, if you're looking to buy, rent, sell, he's the person, the go-to man. So tell us about the economy right about now. I know, as I mentioned earlier, I see a lot of your signs out there.
Yeah, there's probably a few more signs that I'm comfortable with. There's no question over the last 3 to 4 years, the inventory the vacancies have built up a little bit, and the for sale product is out there as well. Unfortunately, some people, when they bought at the peak, and so it's really difficult to try to sell now when things have settled down a little bit. But nevertheless, our economy here in the Upper Valley continues to be as strong as ever relative to the institutional background that we have, Dartmouth and the medical center, of course. But since I've been here over the last 25 years, Dartmouth and the medical center were clearly, even though they've had a little bit of blip in the radar screen over the last couple of years, it's still a very, very 10,000 people in a small community like that has a strong impact. The thing is, though, over the last 25 years, the third leg of the milking stool, sort of, is now, of course, the private sector. The emergence of Centerra and the growth of the Lebanon Business Park up at the airport and all along Etna Road, and of course Hypertherm being the most visible, really provides the perfect storm for good, strong economic base. When one falters a little bit, the other one picks it up. We're the envy of New Hampshire for sure.
We certainly are.
And we are in some ways the envy of all of the New England economies. People just don't get it when they come up here to the Upper Valley. They come up 89 or 91, and before they blink, they're gone, and all they see is trees. But the fact of the matter is that we have clearly about 2 million square feet at the medical center. Private sector, we've got about 3 million square feet. We have some in the queue, so that when things do start to really develop in terms of growth, we're accommodating that pretty nicely. But to go back to the vacancies, over the last 12 months especially, we have done some great absorption of that vacancies. And it all really comes from what I refer to as organic growth. And that is that to try to recruit into this market area companies that have 100 or 150 employees would be virtually impossible because of the housing affordability index, which still has come down slightly, but still higher than most any other economy in New Hampshire. And skilled workforce. We still, clearly require more and more skilled workforce. And although we have it here, we don't have it to support a large company. So when I say organic, what I typically mean is that these little companies that start up in their barn in Thedford, and all of a sudden build or employ 2 or 3 people. They have a good idea. They call me up. They say, "Gee, I really want to get out of the barn and the kids and the dog barking and I really want to get into office or warehouse or some R&D space." So we do that, and then over the years we keep in touch with them and they grow. And because the nucleus of the workforce is already here, they own their own houses, the kids go to the schools, they can afford to then go out and recruit 2 and 3 people at a time. And that's how things grow here in the Upper Valley.
You mentioned that we are the envy. I sit on a couple of commissions and report in every once in a while. And at the end of March, we had a 3.4% unemployment rate, the lowest in the state in this area.
That's the good news, and then there's the bad news, of course. The good news is that we wouldn't have that if our companies weren't growing and employed people. But on the bad side, it is a lot more difficult to expand here in the Upper Valley.
And I say, when you drive through, particularly up 89, I say all you see is cranes, and I don't mean birds either.
Yeah.
Their construction, as you mentioned, Hypertherm has got a big building going up. Dartmouth Hitchcock's got a big building going up here. We have a couple of projects going up on 120, hotel conference centers on the old Shalou farm and at the old tire, Wilson Tire on the right here, and plus the Clem property in West Lab.
Clem property in West Lab. There's still some opportunity for growth up at the Lebanon Business Park, the airport park. Plaza Heights, where FedEx just built their 40,000 square foot facility. There's some opportunity there. Not to mention Dartmouth College itself in their 80,000 square foot visual arts building in downtown Hanover. There's a lot going on.
I sit on the board of Grafton County Economic Development, and we have the incubator building up there. And we just completed, in fact, just this past week, the second phase of the building, doubling the size of the building. And it's full. We've had more interest than we have space. And of course, the purpose of that is they come in for 3 years, develop their product pattern, whatever, and then have to move out. And of course, the success story, which we always tout, is Mascoma Corp.,
Right.
who were there 3 years, moved out, built a beautiful building down here on Route 120 behind FW Webb, doubled their employment, brought their corporate headquarters out of Cambridge, and it was just a win-win situation.
Yes, there's no question that that was a very strong opportunity for the Spray Reagans who owned that building, still do own that building. It was fortuitous that Mascoma was growing at the same time that building was being built. Just to go back to the DRTC, I was involved with your largest tenant, representing them to go into that particular space.
We have Adam Ab that just moved out, and they
Right.
purchased a building from Dartmouth College
That's
on the
great.
premises. But we have a company that's either a subsidiary or a relationship with Merck.
Well, that's the company I'm referring to.
Yeah, okay.
Lycophy is our local name.
Yes,
Owned-
okay.
Owned by Merck.
And so they're coming in and they're going to take the space.
Yeah.
Do you find, is it seasonal too, like for real estate?
Yeah.
I find real estate very seasonal here in the Upper Valley, but
Yeah.
do you find the same thing commercial?
Well, you know, when I first arrived back some time ago, as I mentioned, there's no question in terms of the residential. It was definitely seasonal. We could fold up the tent in November right after homecoming for Dartmouth, basically, and then not even wake up until March. And the only reason we would do that is to get inventory to be listed so that we could start selling it in May. Because the commercial business back in those days was not that well defined, I really don't have that much of a sense for it, but just before I arrived, many of the commercial transactions were done at Lou's Restaurant and Landers and people like that, you know, at the back of the napkin. But then all of a sudden, you know, more sophisticated financing was starting to get developed, more outside money was coming in, and they started to really demand more due diligence, appraisals, you know, banking requirements, and so forth. And so that started the formality of commercial real estate here in the Upper Valley. And in my experience since those days, it really doesn't have much of a seasonal basis. It's all on demand, and also there's a longevity. I mean, you might start a project on a commercial basis, whether it's leasing or sales or some consulting work in August, and you won't finish that up until, you know, next May. So it's always going on. Relative to the residential side, as I said, it used to be very seasonal, but now we're finding, because of the medical center and the turnover that it has, and not so much Dartmouth College, but the private sector and the turnover they have, clearly our residential brokers are pretty busy year-round nowadays.
So
Yeah.
it's not as much as it was before. Looking to the future, you expect this being an election year and things of that nature, do you expect the economy to keep going the way it is?
Here in our local economy,
Yes,
because
yeah.
as you know, it used to be where we were driven by the local economy. You know, the vagrancies of the college or the medical center, we were always attached to them. But now we're so globally attached, and so that's the real wild card. Even though we think we have a pretty strong economy locally, we think we have the quality of life that will sustain that economy. There is, you know, a certain amount of dependence on the global situation, and you know, who knows? China's you know, slowing up a little bit, but on the other hand, I hear locally that a lot of companies really are doing more business in North America now than they were doing in China or Brazil or, of course, in Europe.
Yeah.
And so that bodes well for us, that our local economies are doing fairly well. Another thing, too, and it's pretty much associated with the medical center, and people don't really realize this that much, but between the medical center and the college and other private sector institutions and private sector companies in the Upper Valley, we bring in pretty close to about $750 million of grant money. And to my way of thinking, that is what's called base employment, meaning that our companies are importing money and not exporting it. They're importing that money, and that money then gets circulated into our economy. The local person gets paid, he then or she then goes to the local grocery store or the local hardware store, spends their money, compared to just paying somebody and then taking those profits basically and shipping them out of our economy. So in some ways, a lot of that's government driven, and because of that, I see strong opportunities continuing for the Upper Valley. I do, however, feel that what's referred to in the commercial real estate world as absorption rate, I do unfortunately see that we have a lot of permitted space available, but I don't see the opportunity to absorb all of that space for a good 10 to even 20 years.
Really?
But it's a chicken and the egg too. A lot of times what happens is that we have the permits to build something, but a company can't wait for that 18 or 24 month period to have it built. They really want to have it now, within the next 60 or 90 days. And so unfortunately, it's always a toss-up between a developer owner to say, should I risk building this $5 million structure and not have a tenant, or should I build it knowing that, just like Field of Dreams, was it that that movie? I build it, they'll come.
They will come. Yeah.
And that's always, and that's quite frankly why Robert and Paul Spraywagon, who own Gateway One, was able to land Mascoma, because if you can remember, in those days, Mascoma was looking all around New England. They were looking at Boston, they were looking at Rhode Island, they were looking all over. Nashua, where there was inventory to absorb. But just the timing was right, where Mascoma, in all of their intellectual property that was based here in the Upper Valley, had a house to go to coming out of DRTC. And so that's what it's going to take. It's going to take a little bit of fortitude on the part of a developer, as well as maybe some of our local banks understanding the strength of our economy and kind of jumping in as a strategic partner.
Excellent. Well, Bruce, thank you very much for being with us. Very enlightening.
Yeah.
All that's going on that some of us didn't realize. That much money in grant money is unbelievable that we didn't realize.
Right.
So we thank you for being with us this week. And we'll be back next week with another guest. Until then.